Welcome back to Hey Kentucky. If you're like me or most people I know, college football being kind of in the lurch could be devastating if it doesn't happen. But we need it to be safe. So to talk more about the prospects of what's going on nationwide, I want to welcome in Kentucky Sports Radio writer and Hey Kentucky contributor, Maggie Davis. Hey Maggie, how are you?
I'm Mary Jo. I'm well. How are you?
Doing good. Okay, so, all of the Power Fives and then the rest of college football all seem to be on their own little islands here. But we did learn yesterday of a couple of conferences that are planning on doing just conference games only. And then the SEC is supposed to meet on Monday, I think.
Yes, and I really think that even though we want to look at things like the Ivy League or junior college or other smaller non-Power 5 conferences to sort of gauge where the SEC is going with this decision, they just don't compare to the same way that the SEC compares with other Power 5 schools. Obviously, we won't know what the SEC specifically does until they have that meeting and release their decision then, but I think we learn more by looking at the Big Tens and the ACCs rather than the Harvards and the Kentucky State Universities.
I would agree with you on that, but I'm a little bit nervous that playing conference games doesn't seem to make much difference than if you're playing non-conference games, other than you can sort of mandate rules within your own league.
Right, and to me, that's sort of where I think the decision lies, is these conferences want to have the ability to control their teams and to make sure that everyone's on the same, playing field, I guess you could even say, to make sure that testing is being done the same way, to make sure that decisions are being made in the same way. And that way, it also could help with scheduling. If two teams, both, God forbid, get sick or something happens the same week and they have to quarantine and miss games, it's easier for the SEC to step in and remake those schedules and repair the teams for the week and all that. And I also think it comes down to money. I mean, obviously, we don't want to think that these decisions are being led by finances. I mean, at least in my opinion, I hope the decisions are being made in the best interest of certainly the players' health and safety, hopefully the coaches and the staff and the fans as well. But at the end of the day, finances could really affect this decision. I think whether or not we want to say that, that's true. And not having to pay the Eastern Michigans and the Kent States $1 million to come down and travel, I think helps UK in general.
The unfortunate side of that, though, is the Eastern Michigans and the Western Kentuckys of the world are not going to be getting those paydays for their schools.
Right. That is so unfortunate. And I just think that this is something that we're going to continue to see evolve over the next couple of weeks. And hopefully some sort of negotiations go on. Maybe they can play again next year or in the following years, whenever the schedule allows, because I would hate to see other teams, of course the football teams, but also the swim teams and the tennis teams and the volleyball teams get cut because of this lost revenue from the football season.
All right,
which we've seen at other schools. I mean, just look at Stanford. They did it a couple days ago.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, real quick, what would you, percentage-wise, what would you say is your optimism level for there being any college football this fall?
Any college football in the fall, I'm putting around 70% right now. I would say 70%. I think they're going to play either in the fall or the spring. I mean, I just know these schools want to play. Yeah. Most of the players, I think, want to play. If there's a way to work it out within the conference and to make things easier from a financial and a travel and a health perspective, hopefully it happens. Personally, I want to see it just because I love college football and I work in sports media and all of that's important. But I think these schools are going to have to figure out a way to play football if they want the athletic departments in general to survive.
All right, Maggie Davis, thank you so much for being with us. Much more Hey Kentucky right after this.